Doing it that way is.
Just because these rules are. Hey, we've eliminated.
Yeah, just because, right, over here is hard to see, so.
Yes,
we just
right.
Scoot, maybe scoot out about a foot. There, good.
That better?
Yeah.
Still see me, the other's better.
Huh? You're like a hard hitting meter. Just ready to come in and bust up and leave a lot.
If you rotate the whole table counterclockwise about 15 degrees, it'll be a much nicer view.
We're trying, we've been playing with just that sort of a.
Just saying.
No.
Oh, allergies, right?
Yes.
Yeah, well, the trouble is you're gonna lose the audience.
Yeah, that was the purpose of doing this.
So we're trying to get,
First place.
we're trying to include the audience for those on Zoom land, so you can see who's here besides us.
And it makes it easier for the people here to see people who are on Zoom, because before they couldn't, it was
That's true
sideways.
too.
I'd have to turn my neck. So is that the microphone?
You know, we could,
Do it.
Yeah,
To see.
Yeah.
So can I say it from here now?
it's the first one.
What is
The
it?
Frisbee of doom.
The skill.
and it's
Greg
got
said you could hear it
considerable
from
range.
back.
He picks up the first row now, at least. Are we ready?
The audience could move over that.
Feels
too.
short.
Yeah, we're
Turn the camera.
really tall.
Ready?
I'll figure out
No,
where it is.
go ahead. Not on, I don't care.
Yeah, it's too big.
Wait a second.
No, I saw that.
I didn't.
Oops.
I didn't.
I know.
This
Right
one,
on time.
yeah, he wasn't quite ready. He was going to come.
All right,
Want to make sure it's okay.
He's okay.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
so let's call ourselves to order. And start the
taxes.
meeting. So there's a bunch
Doing
of
taxes.
proposed additions to the agenda, which otherwise was very slim. Are you okay with just moving them down to the second item after
Yep.
first item? And anything else?
Was it?
Oh, there's a deletion. We can't, the minute's not ready
You
to
can't,
dealt with.
I can't understand anything you're saying.
I'm sorry.
That's
Th- th-
okay.
There's a deletion. The
Oh.
minutes are not ready for consideration.
Oh, okay.
There's
Take 'em-
something,
take 'em
something
off.
came off.
Okay.
Next
It
time.
wasn't,
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Mariah not having, just. something
Must have been a
like
late development, but
Why did I?
And what?
Not about the minutes. Parts of the minutes.
I printed the minutes.
Was it the February 20 minutes? the other
I
day?
sent you.
yes.
February 20 minutes have a page missing.
Gotcha.
Yes.
So I'll get that squared away and then, thank you.
Sounds good.
And then I'll put them on for next month, for next meeting.
Right.
Yep.
Privilege of the floor. Several of them here, yes. You want Heather or Zach or
Do
Marty?
do you mind if I go first?
No, and I don't at all.
Is it possible to hear from here?
Ask the Zoom audience. Can you hear Zach?
I can hear Zach.
He wasn't
Okay.
talking then, but I thought I heard his voice earlier.
Yes, he was. And Mariah says she can hear him, and she can hear him, so can you. Go ahead, Zach.
I just want to say that I am withdrawing my application for Paul's open position. I'd written you last week,
Yes,
and you
yeah.
all know this, but I thought I'd much rather get elected than by a group of residents
Mhm.
than just have it be appointed.
Well, I mean, you still have to get elected.
I know, but I'm just saying, as I would feel a lot better about it. I don't know, it's, kind of the same way that I went through the BZA instead of waiting for zoning to get caught up. I don't want anything to look like it's,
Fishy.
I've been awake for a very long time and my words are not the best. I just flew in a couple hours ago. But it's been interesting because since the interview, like I realized that I've never been one to like hype myself up and be like, I do this thing. And I'm not really going to, like, I think everyone here knows that I kind of do know the nuance of what's going on. And I made a mistake. Actually, I had read the comprehensive plan like multiple times before I moved here because I had to go through all the zoning. And I mean, boy howdy, like I've learned a lot about government, and it's been so nice because like y'all have taught me so much, and I'm excited to like keep coming to meetings and run and maybe get elected. But it's also, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to bring this up, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna get past the 3 minutes, in a kind way, because there's really approaching problems are coming from love or hate. And it's really easy to just come from a bad place and make stories in your head and just be not unkind, when it's much easier to ask someone a question, ask them what they want, and like how they've got to that conclusion.
Mhm.
And it's difficult because like, I'll say in particular, like Ted, you're here, and I think it's fascinating how you've addressed me throughout this. And I think making me out as a developer is
Amazing.
it's amazing. And I had a friend that was at the Danby market and heard someone talking about this too. And like, I'm kind of, I've been working in construction forever, and I'm a control freak. Like, we've done everything at our house, from digging out the septic to installing our own mini splits. And I guess like, I don't know what you want, Ted. Like, I see the way that you approach people in conversation. And I know this isn't like a concise answer.
Sorry.
But it is a question. Like, you have a vision, but it's never been clear.
Perhaps when.
I'm just opening this up to conversation if you want to have it. If you don't, I also understand that.
Well, it's not the place for a conversation.
Yeah, right. Right.
Okay, statement. And also, I would say the same to you, Rhonda. I don't really understand how you feel towards me. I know that like things that we want to do with our property, I've written you, I've addressed, like, we've brought a landscape architect out to figure out how to move water through the land, because if you go back through and look at the way the land has been built, there's just tons of fill. It was not treated nice for a long time. And we're doing a lot of rectification, sure.
That's a word.
To bring it back, to have more native species, to figure out how to move water around. We have a wetland delineation done. We want to make it a place for the community. We're not like, I don't know, like I would love if you would respond back. I would love for either of you to come down here and show up and have a conversation, because that's the only way that any of us are gonna feel any sort of resolution to anything. And as it sits right now, it doesn't feel good. I know it doesn't feel good for me, and I don't think it feels good for you. And I don't, like, this is obviously my opinion, but I'd rather be able to have an open conversation with anyone in town than sparring. Thank you.
Heather.
Hi, my name's Heather Coffey, and I've been here since July of 2023. And I wanted to start by saying, I'll try to make it fast, and I'll try not to stutter. I wanted to start by saying I'm really grateful for everyone that's come to the meetings, went to the meeting at the market, who was at the Danby Democratic meeting, who showed up for last town hall and has expressed a desire to do public work here. Like civic pride is really rare. It's a vanishing thing. So when people take time out of their really long day, maybe not around their families, maybe not just having a break from what is increasingly a scary place, our national scene, it means a lot and it's really great. And I think that it's important when we as audience members watch this and we get a chance to question or give feedback. I think it's really important to remember that these people, people watching are their parents, their kids, their bosses, their partners, their grandparents. All of these people are listening to however you decide to address them, whatever concerns, whatever axes you have to grind, whatever, how you address them. They hear that. And I would also like to remind everyone that we had a kind of a tough election last time. And it's really unnecessary to make this election the same, because this is a really small town. It's a beautiful town. And I'm very happy to be here. And I'm really excited to see it grow and everything. But we're a small town in the middle of central New York. This is not the national stage. None of us are Tom Brokaw. We're not having a big expose. These are your neighbors. And you need to talk to them like neighbors. You need to speak kindly to them. You don't have to agree on anything, but if you want your message, your question to be heard and to make it a positive thing, think about how you're talking to people, because no one, the thing I saw at the Danby Democrats really upset me. And I don't want to see that again, because we're adults and we can do better. And I think that this state, I moved here because I wanted to have we're in a state that cares about its citizens and believes in the process, and it needs to be better than I've seen before. So thanks everybody for showing up.
Marty,
All gonna be in tears.
Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
soon.
am I right?
No, I mean, I want to defend this town board, because this town board does listen. I always get upset with them because they spend so much time listening. So I don't want any criticism or aspersions against this town board, because I think they do an extraordinary job. Now I want to admit to something I did wrong. There was a recreation partnership meeting last week, and I was very, very excited about it. And I dashed off a memo for the town clerk to share with you all. I assume you got it. There was a mistake in it. And because I copied in the presenter from the Ithaca Youth Bureau, she pointed the mistake out to me. I said that we had 16% of the membership. It was 16% of the 25%. So it actually translated to 5-point-something% of the actual participation numbers being from Danby Youth and Family. So it wasn't as extraordinary. And I probably should have realized that but I was so excited. It was so it wasn't a deliberate misrepresentation. It was, I'm a human being. Please forgive me. and I just wanted to correct that. So, you know, you weren't publishing it in the town newsletter, Pat, or anything like that. So, because it was a mistake.
Not yet, anyway.
Byline.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yeah.
But I do attend, we're having another meeting next month, and I will have more specific and accurate statistics to share at that time.
Great. I'm not sure who had the hand up first up there in the gang, but it might have been Ted.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ted.
Actually, I'm last online. The top left was the first hand up. That's how Zoom works.
Well, who's at top?
Rhonda.
It would be Rhonda.
Okay, so I will go quickly. Thank you, Joel, for your supervisor's account analysis again. I do appreciate it, and I did take a really good look at it. So I want you to know that it wasn't a waste of time or anything. The only other thing I have to say is to Zach, and that is you've only emailed me once and made a statement, and I read your email. And I don't even remember what it was about at this point in time, but I didn't feel that you were looking for me to respond back to you. So that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Jim.
Jim Holohan. Are you there, Jim?
I'm here. Hello, okay.
Yes.
So I'm Jim Holohan, live on Coddington Road. And I've been to a lot of board meetings over the last 20 years. And I've really felt, not the need to comment too much, and mostly there have been positive comments. But after last meeting, I felt, if I could say, pissed off after the meeting. And I felt compelled to say something. So it was when the candidates got a chance to speak and they were asked questions by the town board. After which a new resident or a new person to the coming to the meetings asked if she could ask a question, which the town board agreed to allow her. And she asked her question. The candidates got a chance to respond. And town board asked if there was another question. That I think everyone was allowed to ask one question. At that point, another resident he was allowed to speak, to ask a question, and promptly said, "I don't have a question," and proceeded to make a statement, which at that point, I think should have been shut down. The board should have shut down that person, because at that point, the person statement he chose to derate one of the candidates and prop up the other candidate with his opinions. And I just don't think it was fair the way it was done. And I made some notes, but they're all scribbles at this point. But it just really, he just interjected things and interjected into the mind of the town board his editorial, his opinions, and it really shouldn't have been about that. It was questions for anyone to ask at that time if they had something for the candidates, not just to make a statement. And I think and at this point, since Zach has chosen to not run, my next statement, which would have been to, I think, you shouldn't go ahead and do the appointment tonight, because I don't think it was fair the way it was done. And there should have been another process to go through and have people ask questions again, and maybe the candidates to speak again, and some other way to do it, because it just didn't seem fair to me. And I just left the meeting with a really bad taste in my mouth. And with all the things going on with the media and the government, the way things coming out now, I just didn't think that in our town that's the way it should happen, that people could just speak and interject their thoughts and editorials and not just go by facts. So that's all. Thanks.
Ted?
Sure thing. As you pointed out, privilege of the floor and meetings in general, public meetings in general, are not a place to have private conversations. But I think it is worth responding to several facts that I feel were misstated by several speakers before me. First of all, I only recall one possibly substantial conversation I've had with Zach Larkins, and I don't believe I've had very many conversations with others when he's been in presence. So I'm not sure where he's getting that from. Jim, it's possible you weren't at the beginning of the meeting last time. During privilege of the floor, I specifically suggested that the public be given a chance to comment after the interviews, because obviously comments would be uninformed if given before the interviews. Nobody stopped me, probably because I'd said in advance exactly what I wanted to do, was just to state my opinion of the interviews. And they weren't unfair. I think if you listen to the recording, I think you will find that I was completely backed up on those. Now to the other things I have on my list. Interestingly enough, the minutes as I have seen them of that last meeting quoted in, mentioned in two places. In the first, it's a quoted statement, and I think it's pretty accurate. In the second, specifically that part which you referred to, Jim, it left out the last, it was more or less a quote, but left out the end of it where I admonished the town board for having made a blatantly political decision in the past and hoped that they would not do it again. It also left out a sotto voce comment from one of the town board, which was clearly audible, about pontificating. Frankly, pontificating is a very loaded word, and it all depends on whether you're the one who's trying to express facts and opinions and one who are, shall we say, having to feel that they're criticized. Now, I have one other thing here, and I'm sorry to bring this up because it's kind of pedantic, but it is nevertheless the law, and I think it is a point worth raising. I happen to be looking at public officers law, I believe section 32, which talks about resignation of public officers. The upshot of it is that a town board member cannot resign more than 30 days in advance. And if a town board member, public officer in general, I'm leaving out details, does resign more than 30 days in advance, the resignation is effective after 30 days. So Paul Hansen actually was not a town board member as of February 5th. While the material distributed on January 6th during the meeting, which included a copy of his letter, the letter was dated but no stamp of received on it, which is a little bit of a problem. However, since it was on the agenda and was discussed during the meeting, it's pretty clear that he had in fact given that letter to the town, to the clerk on January 6th. So he was not a town board member after February 5th. You can look at the law. I'm sending a copy of it to Mariah so she can distribute it to you. You probably will want to review any actions which he participated in, which includes the second meeting in February. And I'm sorry, Paul, I'm sure this is going to hurt you terribly in the pocketbook, but you can't get paid after February 5th either. I'm sorry. I just happened to run into it and I was going, whoa, wait a minute. And there it is. With that, I look forward to hearing an interesting discussion during your single business item that's on the agenda, assuming you don't add any more.
Did you listen to additions and deletions from never mind.
You do. Okay, thanks. There's no correspondence, is there, Mariah?
No,
Anybody have any announcements? Couple of pancake breakfasts coming up.
The pancake breakfast on the 16th?
Yeah, and the 15th as well.
I thought it was the 16th.
15th and 16th.
Yeah.
West Danby's the 15th,
Oh.
Danby's the 16th. Yeah,
And West Danby's and all you could eat for.
yes, for less.
No, it's for the same.
Not if you're
15th
senior.
and 16th, okay. That
As
was
long as
good
we're talking
planning.
about things like that are pleasant and fun, I will say April 27th, I know it's a long time away, but you can
Okay.
start purchasing your ducks for the duck race anytime
Oh, yeah?
on the
Oh,
website.
boy.
And it really is fun to go to that. It's really fun.
Especially if you got high water,
Hot water?
especially if you got high water.
Oh, still fun. The ducks just go faster.
Yeah, that's right. That's what I mean.
What else is coming up? And Greg is gonna be doing another meeting.
Yeah, same time as the West Danby
Yeah.
party.
No.
Meeting. And I still haven't mastered bilocation. I've been working at it for years, but this it'd be awfully handy,
Not sure.
being more than one place at the same time.
No.
Vortex.
Okay. We have the reports, the account analysis, the town clerk's report, confess I haven't looked at yet. Which moves us to the minutes, which we are postponing till next time, which brings us right to the warrants.
Warrants.
Yeah, there was only two this
I
time.
move the general fund. As abstract 5 vouchers 79 through 87 for $6,540.12.
Second,
Any discussion? Right to the vote.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes,
Woodworth,
yes,
Gagnon.
Yes,
Thank you.
Welcome. Move the highway fund abstract 5 vouchers 25 through 36 for $25,069.58.
second,
how much of discussion? Okay,
Connors,
Yep.
Hunter,
yes,
Woodworth,
yes,
Gagnon.
yes.
Thank you.
On to business. I move that we appoint James Tyler Stein to fill the vacancy.
What are
second,
you saying?
I move that we appoint James Tyler Stein to fill the vacancy caused by Paul Hansen's resignation.
till the end of this year,
Well, right,
what did you say, Pat?
till the end of this year.
right. When it's up for election.
So discussion.
Moved and seconded, yes, discussion.
I'm sorry, did Pat second that?
Yes.
Thank you.
I had a little thing I wanted to say.
Go, feel free.
I believe both candidates would serve Danby well. I know Larkins well and Tyler not at all. I've been impressed with Tyler's attendance at meetings and willingness to participate. His comments are thoughtful and his willingness to serve, as others in his family do, is genuine, and his approach seems bipartisan. I know Zach to be a relentless researcher and a searcher something of options. He's a builder, not a developer, and has contributed a lot to the town of Danby without being on any board or committee. I know him to be interested in fostering community and creating community options. I think he would be a huge asset on the board, and I hope he considers putting his hat into the ring in November. There, that's my statement.
And I'm saying ditto to that. And I actually learned a little bit about where the word ditto came from, but I can't recall it well enough, but yes.
Has to do with two.
I
little
thank you very
things.
much. You can research that for me too, Zach.
Yeah.
I did once, but I was told I was wrong with what I came up with.
For my part, I was not looking forward to a very difficult decision to be made from two excellent candidates for board.
Right.
And Zach had made it a little bit easier by withdrawing, but it would have been really difficult.
Yeah.
Just try to make it easier.
Mhm.
Just in general.
Any comment, Pat?
No,
No. Anything else?
Nope.
Okay, Mariah.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
yes,
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mariah. Could you
Yes.
come in? Could you come in here and swear Tyler in?
Yes.
Joel, you
slide down a little farther, Joel.
What's that?
You can sit here. Can you
Yeah,
slide down
yeah,
a little
slide
farther?
You know the pledge?
Yeah.
Secret shake.
If you're done with the repeat after me, we just do it.
I'll do a repeat after me.
Don't make me dance.
Oh, you can repeat after me. I, James Taylor Stein,
I, James Tyler Stein,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of town board member.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of town board member.
Oh, wait a minute, to the best of my abilities.
To the best of my abilities. I'll do
It
my
was way
best.
down there, sorry. There you go, sign right there.
Thank you.
Goodness, that last phrase is there.
Very good. Cute.
Thank you, Mariah. And Tyler, if you would join us at the table.
There's a chair right here.
She's got.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right outside. Let's see, like, I'm going to make a quick dash because I might have dropped my glasses on the parking lot.
And the ones on your, the ones that you're wearing are not good enough.
No, these, the ones that I just got for computer aids.
Oh, wow. We don't have anybody driving over them.
That's why.
Yeah. Pick a sticky topic to talk about while Catherine's away.
So I just want to thank everyone for being willing to do this.
Yeah.
I would not be willing to do this.
I'm looking forward to
I
it.
kind of like coming in here for my 2 minutes and heading for the door. So I appreciate everybody's willingness. I'm always in awe of you all.
Well, we appreciate your attendance and your criticisms and your praise.
We bring phone fingers and maybe do.
Yeah.
Did you say lady fingers?
Phone
fingers.
With
They were in the-
Oh, yeah.
Where's the car? Yeah.
Interfaces.
The theme of the Danby Market meeting was make the town board meetings fun. That really was it.
Okay, on to the next item of business.
Yeah. You're cold.
I move we approve the resolution to proclaim the town board of the town of Danby that the month of April is Fair Housing Month or something like that.
I second that. This is something we say we do, when in conjunction with our, CDBG grants and stuff.
Right.
We have a fair housing. Week. So why not April?
Is it April other places too?
I think so,
Okay.
yeah.
Just here.
But officially in Danby, yeah.
Right,
Yeah. Any further discussion?
no,
Okay, Mariah.
Connors,
yes,
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Gagnon.
Wait, I forgot one. Kate before
Oh,
Dougie.
very good. Oh, hold on, I gotta get my cheat sheet here. Stein,
Yes.
excellent. Gagnon,
First vote.
perfect.
Okay. I discovered over the weekend or on Friday, it was on the radio that the living wage, as it has been promulgated for 2025 is not 24.64, which we were led to believe in advance, but 24.82. So there's an 18-cent difference. I asked Laura what would be the implications for the budget if we went to 24.82, and the word was between $500 and $600 for the year.
between 500 and 600?
500 and 600, yeah, for all the positions that would be subject to that 18 cents more. We, and for opinion, for,
Well, I think we're committed to being a living wage
employer, yeah,
employer.
yeah. Is it Pete Myers? Yeah, of the the Pine just has, there's probably gonna be a lot of defections. There are a lot of organizations and companies who can't afford that much of a jump. It's almost 35%. Yeah, which was all, and that was over last year's jump, which was also a big jump.
So this is for Tompkins County?
Yeah, and this is what it costs a single individual with their own place to live in Tompkins County, and, you know, and cover their expenses. Which is merely to underscore that there are a lot of people who can't afford to live under those circumstances.
Right.
You either have to have more than one income in the family in order to make it work, or you have to live outside the county, and all those things obtain. So, are we good for it?
I think so. I mean,
We did commit to it.
Yeah. Anyway,
I think our commitment to a living wage is a great idea.
somebody want to move it?
I will.
Okay.
I'll second it.
So it's been moved and seconded that we adjust our wages to reflect the minimum, the living wage as promulgated at 24.82.
82.
Yeah. Any further discussion?
So we'll need to go back and reapprove.
We'll adjust the
what
budget.
salaries, right?
Well, it doesn't affect the salaries because, you know, elected officials weren't affected anyway. It's only employees,
Right,
and we can do that without having to adjust. We have to adjust the budget.
Yeah.
oh, because part of the organizational meeting, we approve wages.
We did. And so we're
It
modifying
might
that
be
right
good
now.
to redo that list, because there are some people in that list.
Yes,
that
quite
this-
several of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So,
need to update the list.
right. That's something that our town clerk might do, right?
The town clerk
For the-
might do.
Or, I mean,
Yeah, update
Oops.
update the list. Well, you know, the motion as made stands in the record,
Yes.
so we can't go back and change it. We're changing the numbers now, but what was passed in that motion remains there.
Which motion? The one now or
The
the
one we
one?
passed at the organization
Right.
meeting.
Right.
Yeah. This is essentially a modification.
Yes.
or it's a modification. It's how things get lost. That's just what I think.
You're not talking about backtracking over the last 5 payrolls, are you? So
No,
you're just saying moving forward from this point,
Right.
moving forward from this point. Yeah, there's like 5 employees, 4 or 5 employees that this affects.
Right.
I hadn't even thought about the possibility of backtracking, but
I wasn't thinking either.
But I think when you passed it, I think it was that. When exactly did they change it, Joel? I'm sorry to interject.
well, you know, this is the thing is that they put this number out there and then it
Right.
sits there for a good long time until organizations say, yeah, we're in for that. And I don't think they back at January 1st in order to participate. So, you know, we passed what we thought was going to be the living wage in January, and I think we just pick it up from here on out, at what it turned out to be. We're still paying the living wage going forward. Does that make sense to you, or do you
What-
think we ought to
I
backtrack?
don't know which way you're trying to say it. You know, what are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is we go from here as opposed to
Right. instead of
going back to January 1st.
Was the $500 to $600 just from here on, or did that include January?
That's a question for Laura.
From here on. I figured it out with 21 payrolls left in the year. And that's on the like I say, that's, because of the number of hours that are charged, I'm gonna say that that's, it might be a little more, a little less than that. Probably a little less than that, actually.
I imagine these are mostly people who work for Keith.
A couple of,
None of them were affected by
That's
that,
my
because
stuff.
there's already gone up. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
these
think
were
that-
like our snow shoveler and Julia, Mary Ann, Blake,
And Cindy.
and Cindy. Yes,
And
5
Cindy.
people.
and the lifeguards.
I hadn't figured those.
Hmm.
So I would say you're gonna be closer to the $600 range. 600 or 650 range, somewhere in there.
Seasonal job, I'm sure.
It is, yeah,
Yeah, it's only 2 months.
right. Pretty good wage for lifeguarding.
And maintaining the area.
Yes, there's other things,
And being there instead of somewhere else making more money.
right? We should make it easy to get lifeguards. Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Connors,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Stein,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, it's the town hall room use policy. Our policy currently states that, if a group wants to use the town hall, they need, approval by the town board, and they need, liability insurance coverage. At the last meeting, we talked about this and, asked, Laura to look into the insurance situation. And she's here, she can tell you, the upshot is that, we're covered either way. Best practice, when you can get it, is to have liability insurance by the party using the building. But if they don't have it, we're still covered in the event that something happens. So, I mean, I was approached just yesterday, with a request to use the town hall for a meeting of people who are concerned about the NYSEG rates. And I said, well, as it stands, you need liability insurance in order to do it. And that's an impediment. So I don't think we really want that impediment to be there. I think it'd be,
Right, with citizen meetings.
yeah, I think it should be easier than that to use the town hall for gatherings.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it makes a difference if it's something like a yoga class or something, where people,
Could get hurt.
people might get hurt.
Well, we could maybe
Tai Chi.
modify it to say,
Taekwondo.
at the town board's discretion, maybe, because if we're going to require them to have approval of the town board, that could be part of the consideration of the town board as to whether to grant the approval.
Like that word.
You don't like, you do.
Discretion. That's, I
You-
don't
You'd
know.
like it to be an objective, independent of
Yeah.
any discretion. What we used to have, and it got deleted in the policy, and I'm not sure why. The community council used to have a blanket,
Right.
and approval to do events that they sponsor in the town hall without having to go to the board for approval.
Right.
I don't know why they got dropped, but it did. And when we were assured when the community council combined with the Community Park Association, that the functions of the community council in providing the liability insurance umbrella would be assumed by the combined organization. So I sent Amanda Pia, who I don't know, I'm assuming that she still is, but if not, you can tell me who is, the chair or president of the Danby Community and Park, as they call themselves now, to ask if they are in fact willing to assume that umbrella role. And also, if they are, if they would be amenable to also assuming that function of basically scheduling people or the use of the town hall without us, each group having to come to us for approval. As it was before, in other words.
Those were events of the community council,
Yes.
not
Not-
of the town.
Not, well, they weren't town events, because town events would be covered. They're talking about, yes, if somebody went to the community, well, like the person who just came to me today, said, could I meet with these other people in the town hall? If they had approached the community council in the past, and the community council were willing to sponsor it, it would have been a community council sponsored event
Right, but that's not-
covered by their liability insurance.
That's not, there was a whole bunch of ifs in there. And I thought for a while we were set up so that the clerk was able to make a judgment about it.
No, there's no judgment.
Well, I'm sorry, that's a bad word too.
Yeah.
But I
The
thought. the
application
clerk-
was to the clerk.
What?
Currently, the application is to the clerk.
Yeah.
If it's a town meeting.
But then it comes to the board for approval.
It's not a town meeting, is it?
I
Right.
don't think it's a town, I think it's a citizen,
So
it sounds
request
to
for
me like
use of the
citizen
meeting,
use.
they need to
but then we'd have to.
ask us.
Yeah, unless it's a
Well-
governmental organization. We went, well, even we had the meetings a couple years ago where the Chamber of Commerce came and addressed the, people who were
That was a
interested.
town meeting,
Well, Chamber of Commerce is not a town.
but the town arranged it. I mean, the town sponsored it. It was sponsored.
Well, yeah, well, we said, okay,
Yeah,
but it would have, but the board said, okay, as
Right.
opposed to the clerk saying, okay.
right.
There are town
So
meetings.
What's the, I mean, it sounds like the only thing we need to, I mean, this insurance issue, was this something that Guy said that we needed to have in here?
No.
Okay.
And,
Let's just
and
take it out.
what our insurance agent said was, you're covered either way. Best
Right.
practice is if you can get it, it's nice to have the insurance from the organization that's using the
If they
space,
have it,
if they have it.
it's nice.
Yes.
We're not gonna ask people to go get liability insurance to have a meeting here.
That's what we were doing. That's the policy currently.
Okay, well, we're gonna.
Yes, well, that's what
scratch that.
I'm proposing that we change it. Thank you for sharing that, Mariah, except that it's illegible.
It's just too little.
Can you make it bigger?
I mean, it's just this thing.
Yeah.
So we just take that out.
If we, yeah.
So through the town clerk to the town board, all requests, what it says now. And if granted a certificate of liability insurance,
So we're taking out that statement.
yeah, we could take that out.
That would be the easiest change.
It would be.
I think that'd be the
Let's see,
easiest. I think that's what we should do.
Do we still want all requests to come to the board?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yes. Seems like a strong sense that that's the way it should be.
Yes,
Okay.
it's just that word discretion that was bothering me.
Yeah,
And I think that it's not, I think it's, the town board has some responsibility for what happens in the town hall.
yeah.
So,
if you feel the need to leave that in somewhere, we could, number 3, it says fees for use of the town hall meeting room and properties shall be as follows. You could say fees and
insurance certificate.
insurance,
if
coverage.
available,
or
and-
extra insurance, I don't know how you'd word it, but we
Well, yeah,
could
but
put it in there.
that would suggest that we might request it sometime,
Right,
which
and that
gets
under-
into the
Under
discretionary
private
judgment.
requests to be determined by the town.
Yeah, but what you're proposing is a discretionary decision on the
Yeah.
part of the town board,
Right,
which Catherine objected to.
so you don't use that word, you just use the two.
Well, yeah, but it also the same thing whether you call it that or
Yeah,
not.
it's the same thing if you do
Well,
use the word or not.
okay. I
Well,
think
I
that,
think I think it was the word that was.
yeah, it's the word
So-
itself that was bothering me.
Yeah,
So,
so you don't mind the
Anytime-
discretion, just don't want it called that?
Right,
yes.
That's
Interesting.
not logical.
I'm not always logical. It's
That's
it's a word that.
Language is important, but
But I think.
I mean, either we just trash it, or we can put it in with that private request on number 3C. You can add it into that. You know,
Well,
does
Move it
it,
down.
does it
and
mean that the board
fees
would be
and,
making
or need
decisions?
for insurance coverage.
Whether to allow it.
And what would be the,
does it mean what?
shouldn't we say what the basis for that decision would be? Like beforehand, so that it wouldn't be a case by case basis?
That would be.
And what would that be?
We
If
don't
you've
know
got
all
it,
those-
if you've got it.
We don't have all those things ahead of time. But
Yeah,
I think one of the things that when they come with a request, we can evaluate if it seems risky to the board, then the board can request information from the insurance company to see if it is. And then it is not our discretion, it's not our decision. The insurance company can give us input back as to whether this is riskier.
well, I mean, they've already told us that, you know, there's some risk involved in doing anything, but
Okay. I
that
think
we
that-
are covered regardless.
Okay, then let's just leave it out.
Yeah,
Let's
leave it
just
out.
leave it out.
I'm okay with that.
Let's
Yep.
leave it out. If we run into a problem, we can.
Yeah. So, so the proposal is, let's make this a motion. Whoops, you took it off just in time. You took it away just as I was about to cite it.
It would probably be better if we did this at the next meeting and it was in writing in the agenda, because it's not clear what this is on the agenda.
Well, it would be clear in the minutes.
It's not clear in advance because it's not on the agenda. On the agenda, we know, and it's not gonna hurt to wait till the next meeting in 2 weeks.
We could do that. Want to do that?
In the meantime, when did those people want to get together about NYSEG bills?
He didn't tell me time.
Um,
He approached the fire hall, because I send to the fire hall, they're usually pretty good about this. He said, but he didn't get any response from them. But he didn't tell me when.
Okay, the reason
Did
that I'm
did he tell
concerned,
you, Mariah?
NYSEG?
No, the person who wanted to use the town hall for a meeting about the NYSEG building.
No,
You know him.
yes,
But he didn't
but I
tell
do
you.
not know what this meeting is about, nor have I been asked about using the town hall.
So we don't know what date was. Do we need to
No.
know?
well, the reason that my whole reason for having any hesitancy about this at all is what's going on nationally and everywhere. And what we've already had a few people threaten us with baseball bats and things like that. This is that's why I think that the word discretion bothers me because it feels like, we get to pick who gets to use it, but this is the town hall.
Right.
And we should be welcoming and encouraging people in the town who be talking about things that are disturbing. But maybe it's something, I don't know how we can say, as long as you behave yourselves, or if you have to have an armed guard or any of that stuff,
Yeah.
but, I don't want, we just had the harassment, the violence, training.
Mhm.
And very coincidentally, I went to the Social Security office and I was looking, I thought, me, I can say anything I want to anywhere. And so I said to the guard something about, that's the most interesting use of zip ties I've ever seen. Because all the chairs were zip tied together.
Yeah.
And I assumed I just made a silly assumption that they were worried about, somebody said, oh, were they worried about them taking them away? No, they're worried about people picking them up and throwing them at them.
Mhm.
And I don't want to put us in this situation where we could have opposing groups. The NYSEG bill is not one, probably like one of
Wouldn't
those.
think so.
But other things could say, well, you gave those people a chance to speak and now we want to come and speak. So I have concerns about it and I don't know what the right answers are. Maybe Pat's right, we should wait and think about it.
We need to think about it. Can't do this at that short notice without, and the public needs to be aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason the policy is the way it is, because it basically, we tried to come up with some sort of, criteria for when it could be used and by whom. And when it came down to it, the board just said, we'll decide on a case-by-case basis. You have to come to the board for approval.
Well, that coming to the board for approval is different from just saying our discussion. Yes, we would vote, but we'd at least have some kind of.
In discussion.
Yeah,
But we'd
right.
have some kind of idea ahead of time. The temperament of I don't know how you decide.
And
who
it would
can
be
and who
on the
can't. I
agenda,
really
so it'd
don't.
be
Would you-
available to the public. They would know about it as well. Which again, why we should not vote on it tonight. We should bring back a written policy and it should be on the agenda for next meeting.
don't
I had
wanna
no
be on
idea
the
what we're
policy
talking about
writer.
here with this.
That
I don't know
that
when
would
they
give
were-
me an opportunity to prepare. I,
Well,
I
nobody
don't,
had
I don't have this in front of me.
Nobody had an opportunity to
Yeah.
prepare,
Yeah,
because this
yeah.
is all it said, and it didn't say what the policy problem was.
Sorry, I'm like
Now
over
you,
your
I didn't
shoulder on
really
your
know what
computer
we were
here.
doing either.
well, we'll postpone. So, what's gonna come back is a proposal to delete that.
Okay,
Right, and they're gonna entertain, and probably in the same consideration, if the timing works, the request for specific, specific request by that person to use the building could also be considered. So you have people know ahead of time who's asking for
Right.
what.
I mean, we have a limited number of people who are allowed to be in here, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
has
yeah,
to be-
I don't expect a huge crowd, but. So, let's see.
Can I say one more thing?
Sure.
This is kind of interesting too. The insurance company said, responded that they get a lot of these kinds of questions. So this comes up a lot amongst municipalities. They would also like to see when we do come up with a policy or whatever you come up with this, they would like to see it, have NYMER review it, and probably their attorneys as well. But they would like to review it to make sure that the way that things are stated, that we are as covered as possible with what that policy states. So when you do have it, we can submit it to them and they can do maybe some of the legal
Yeah.
things, looking at what they know from the past.
Well, what we've got isn't gonna be terribly helpful for them because what the board essentially did was punt on it. Instead of saying the policy is this kind of group, this kind of group, this kind of group, are okay, this kind of group, this kind of group, this group are not okay. We said, we can't figure this out. We'll figure it out on a case-by-case basis. So
that's what the insurance company will look at, and they'll decide whether it's a good idea or not.
yeah, that is the
Yes.
policy. That's what's in there now. And when we're not changing that, we're only changing the question of whether they need liability insurance in order to use the facility.
It's that the workplace violence course was put on by NYMER, so I
Yes.
might take a look, and they had a lot of slides
Yeah.
that there was a lot of information that too much to absorb suddenly, so and they have sample letters, and they maybe have some sample policy stuff.
Right? Well, if they can always comment that your policy is inadequate or whatever.
Which would be useful for us to know.
It would
Right.
be useful, and if they had suggestions for what it could be, that would be
Right.
useful too.
I don't mind asking them that.
Yeah,
Let's,
because they got this, if this is being asked elsewhere, which I'm not surprised. Yeah, Laura, if they have suggestions for what ought to be in that policy, we could revisit the whole question.
Yeah, let's see what we have. If you'd like me to, I can send them what we have right now and ask
Yeah.
and tell them what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And what would their suggestions be for wording?
Yeah.
We can get started with that too,
That would be good.
if that would help.
Yeah, it would.
thanks,
You're welcome.
thanks, Laura.
No problem.
We have an ambiguous next item called status update various initiatives. And that's an attempt to, since we have a relatively light agenda tonight, I thought it'd be good to sort of revisit where we stand with a lot of things, irons in the fire, as it were. What's going on with, for instance, and Jim is still here, we've made some progress with the Clean Energy Communities grant. We got $60,000 towards energy improvements for this building. And it's a question, we're at the stage where you have to decide how to use the money. The grant paid for, and there was conducted an audit, an energy audit, which pointed to several things that could be done. And we essentially had to pick from the list with a couple of additions that can be added. Jim, you wanted to speak to this?
So update is we did get a one estimate on the heat pumps for the building, air source heat pumps. We're waiting for two others to come in. We've also been looking at EV chargers for the building, one at the building, one maybe across the parking lot. We've applied for getting a grant through the DEC ZEV program to use in conjunction with the Make Ready program through NYSEG, which would pretty much pay for an EV station, but we may not be able to find out about that for a while. So we're looking into other opportunities for that. Also, we had to choose something from the energy audit to use the grant money for Clean Energy Communities grant money for, or else we'd have to use it for increasing the size of the solar panels, using the money for EV charger stations. If we didn't stack it on top of other grant money, other incentive money that was available, or we could use it for a battery powered lawnmower, something like that. We could use for, electric car, electric vehicle. So we're waiting to see what the other proposals come in at, and hopefully we will have some money left over to use. So I'm not exactly sure what we're going to choose, and hopefully we'll have a report. You can put that on the agenda for next week. I'll do a little update, and hopefully we'll have a report on what the three proposals came in at, recommendation and why, and what else we should put before the board to use the additional money on, which maybe $15,000 at this point is an estimate. So something to think about. If anybody has any ideas that they like to use the money for, it has to be something related to sort of renewable energy at the building. So I'm going to try to get an idea from someone to how much it would cost to expand the solar system, panel and array for the building as well. That's all.
Jim, I did get an email today from somebody at NYSEG who has incentives for EV chargers. I forwarded it to you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And NYSEG has they call it Make Ready grant.
Yes. Yep.
Is that what that was about?
Yes.
Yep. I'm familiar with that one and plan on definitely taking advantage of that one.
Very good.
So that's that. We have a situation with the possibility of putting sewers in Danby and West Danby, for which we have $4.6 million potentially usable to us. There's not enough to do it. And since our last meeting, Greg and I spoke with Guy about the legal context for it and how we might proceed. And it's complicated.
Well,
To say the
it's
least.
because you're talking.
Well, it's complicated anyway.
Yeah.
And I confess I did not fully grasp at what was the upshot of a 2-hour meeting with Guy. Article, I did know this, both the report, the preliminary engineering report that we got from Hunt, as well as, as well as other communications, pointed to Article 12 of town law as being the basis for establishing special districts.
Right.
What Guy explained is that unlike some other essential services, towns in New York State do not have home rule authority with regard to water and sewer. which is interesting because cities and villages do. But towns are limited to what is delegated to us, the authority is delegated to us using Article 12A, B, and C. And the relevant part of Article 12 are A and C. Those constitute two different ways of doing special districts. And in one of them, I think it's A, you create a district where you identify the properties that are going to be in the district, and you go from there. The other one, C, allows you to do something broader, but less specific. So like a town-wide district where there are classes of properties. So there could be class of properties that are not participating, and properties that are participating. In both cases, properties that are where the district is formed are in the district, and you don't have any. There's not a lot of discretion about how they are. The expenses of the district go to the are expenses of the district, both in either case. So if you're in a district, you're going to be paying the expenses of the district. They're special districts as opposed to a townwide obligation, which is problematic because we don't have in either case enough properties in the districts to avoid it being unaffordably expensive to do it all with the amount of money that we've got to work with. I kind of wonder whether even if we had the extra $1.5 million, whether because establishing the districts is subject to permissive referendum, whether the people who would end up in the district would support creating a district, even if the cost of creating it were covered, given that they would be taking on an annual expense of operating it without, and then the additional expense of hooking up to it, which you have to do within a certain period of time. That's also in the law.
It would be helpful if we had a public hearing early, now, soon, before we spent more time to get that information from the public.
Well, you mean have a meeting about it?
Yeah, have
Yeah.
a public hearing.
Yeah.
I've actually had the request from several people in town.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be a public hearing. Well, probably would be a public
Information
hearing in
session.
conjunction with district establishment.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct.
But you'd have to decide.
Who's gonna be in the
where
district.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly.
before you can even think to have a public hearing.
Right.
I mean,
You want to weigh in on this, Greg? You really be part of that.
No, Joel, you summed it up really well. I really don't have much about that.
I mean, is there an option to just, to not have it, there's an option to not have it be town-wide. There's an option to
Yes.
select.
Yeah, option
small-
A is
Right.
to delineate the district.
Right.
These are the properties that would be in the district. And it could be more than one, so it could be one for West Danby, one for Danby.
Right,
Saying, these are the properties, 15 or 30 that are going to be in this district. We're
Right.
going to be shouldering the cost of running it once it's put in.
but if it's, say, two properties, just say it's two properties.
Mhm.
I mean, how much are those, I mean, that'll determine the size of the operation and the cost of the operation and how much people are gonna have to pay in.
It could, although there will be, inevitably, there's going to be some operating costs, even if there's hardly anybody.
Right.
Because
Right,
you're going to have some sort of treatment
right,
facility, and you're going to have,
Yep.
in maybe in both cases, but certainly in West Danby's case, you're going to have pump stations, and it costs something to run them. So, that's an ongoing expense, and you've got.
is there any place in
operator.
West Danby that anybody's expressed interest in considering it?
Well, there was, with the survey that was done in conjunction with the study, people were asked in both hamlets, I think it was in both hamlets,
Yeah, the meetings. at the
what were they
private
willing,
meetings.
what was their willingness to entertain a sewer, district? And as I recall, the support was for, yeah, if it doesn't cost me much or of anything. So unfortunately, it's not realistic that it wouldn't cost much of anything, you know.
That's right.
It's gonna cost something. And how much it costs depends on how close we come to covering the actual cost of construction.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
if they're small, I mean, if, I'm just thinking like the property down, you know.
yeah, well, and that's
Since
the other
property-
thing, and we need clarity on this point, so Greg is gonna call the Environmental Protection Fund folks and try to set up a meeting to get to see how much discretion we've got. You know, what we asked the question and the answer was, you can, you know, you have permission to do what you asked to do.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's clear as mud.
I know.
It means, you know,
Yeah, they
what,
said, follow the preliminary engineering report. Well, the engineering report outlined a lot of different
Yeah,
ways
right.
to go about it.
yeah. And the recommendation in the report was that we sewer the core of both hamlets. How we go about that, you know, that's what's not clear, how much discretion we've got, whether you could do what you're thinking about, I think, is, you know, do just this,
I mean,
just right around here, say.
no, not just right around here. I'm saying specific properties that may be interested. I know, you know, whether the person who owns Dobson's property, whether that person's interested in developing that. I know the person up here had talked closer to the corner, had talked about putting in an apartment building. I don't know if that person's still interested in maybe developing that parcel more than it already is.
Mhm.
And they're, you know, like specific,
That's what I had hoped to
I
do.
mean, Dobson's could actually handle having, you know, having the operation on the property.
Yeah,
Right?
which is also something that's being considered in conjunction with the Design Connect proposal.
Right,
I asked them to say, you know, look at this two ways. You might have a sewer system to plug into, and you might not.
right.
So, you know, in order to do any kind of a dense, you know, compact development,
Right.
you would have to have some sort of shared wastewater
Some
facility.
kind of system.
Yeah, so, you know, put something in that would serve the development. And think about the possibility of actually hosting a treatment plant that would serve the rest of the hamlet as well on the property. And then if it doesn't work out, you've got extra space. And if it does work out, then we have a place to put the treatment. That's if we did a leach field. If we're doing a package plant, you want to be close to the creek and discharge to the creek.
Right.
So what gets chosen as a treatment modality affects the cost and also the operation.
Right, right.
Because, you know, leach field doesn't require a whole lot of observation and maintenance, but, you know, something like a membrane bioreactor requires regular careful attention.
Right.
And for that, you need a trained operator, which my understanding is that small municipalities that don't have a trained staff tend to farm out to the, you know, the companies that provide the
Right, right.
the plant. So that's a fixed cost that would be distributed, you know, among those who are
Right.
in the district. And if we had to limit it to just those properties that were interested in participating, it might be kind of expensive if we can't. I'd like to make it a townwide obligation to cover to the extent that it's necessary as a sort of an incentive to get it up and running.
That's why we need public input, because I do know for sure there is widespread opposition to that.
Yeah, which is,
There's a widespread opposition to both.
it's pretty, I would expect there might be widespread opposition to either.
There's widespread opposition to both, correct?
Yeah.
I think that a charrette, something that's one of the
Yeah, that's a
problems.
good idea.
Yeah, one of the problems is the more we talk about it here, when you hear actual individuals saying some idea, then that opens people's thinking to possibilities, but without this information session or whatever, then I mean, I remember being involved in
Yeah.
a charrette, and it was a really big deal, but the people who presented it, I mean, that's something that sometimes, does that get covered by a cost of this, of presenting a charrette? Probably not.
Probably not, but we could, I think that,
Put one together.
we
Yeah.
could do it, yeah.
And then I'm half looking at you, Greg, because I'm thinking that, and this is a lot of work to put on one of those, and I'm looking at somebody
It's a
like you.
community meeting where
A
you get
charrette.
to,
You know, what we
you know,
need
look at
is,
pictures and,
Right,
you know,
right.
what would you like, what would you
Wait a
not
minute.
like?
right,
Yeah,
He was just asking a question.
oh,
I mean,
well, were you asking what?
the word you used,
Yeah.
charrette,
Charrette.
Correct? You're not,
Right.
not familiar with it?
I'm not,
It's a little cart.
Yeah.
means little cart.
It means little cart, literally, yes, but what it is a brainstorming session.
Yeah.
Yeah,
A visioning.
and it
exercise.
allows people to, you know, under some,
Yeah.
I hate this word, but I'm saying it anyway, under some amount of control.
Oh, I thought it was discretion.
You would allow people to
Yeah.
be in it, you know, it's sort of like going to a big thing and then 5 people go to the table over there and 5 people go over there or whatever, and some smarty pants goes to that table to tell them something, and, you know, some developer goes to another. Sorry. Anyway, you get the idea, it's like
Yeah.
a brainstorming.
You know, I have
It's
had,
kind of
Visioning.
fun.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
How do you think it would go if we did something like that in a space like this and
Yeah.
then left the product of that here for people to come, you know, asynchronously whenever they have time to see and leave comments? I mean, could we develop this plan with community input over, I mean, we're already spending a long
Like
period
a
of time, so we could
2 weeks.
continue to spend a,
Well, yeah, that's the other
Right,
problem, is
right.
we have.
are we running out of time?
We're somewhat under the gun, is that we got this Gagnon, we have so much time before we have to say, yeah, we're gonna do it, or not.
When do we have to have it?
And we have to have,
Use this
that's the other thing that's not clear, is, you know, how much time we've got. Because we have to also look at what other funding could be brought to bear, because, you know, unless we can get more money, it's
Right.
totally
We're not gonna
infeasible.
do it. Yeah.
Even if we have money, it might not be find favor with the public, so
Right.
that's the problem, you know,
So, I mean, it seems to me like the best way for it to find favor with the public would be if you had the people here who like the idea and are interested in it come together and put their ideas together so that they can get the best version of their positive ideas about it. And then if that doesn't sell, then it doesn't work.
I think we need not just the positive people, but I think we need input from everybody.
Well, I feel like
Not
you get
just
the
those that are
positive input
positive.
first so that you have something good to show, and then everyone else can come in and say, I hate this, and
Right.
then,
Usually
know.
the negative is because they don't understand what's going on.
because it's
Once
not
they
elucidated yet,
understand it,
right?
it's-
well, no, I mean, I think
And that's money.
yes, exactly,
money.
there are good reasons to not
It's money.
want it.
Yeah, but a lot of times resistance comes first, no
Yeah,
matter what it is.
yeah, because people are uncomfortable with change.
Right.
So, I
The
mean, so-
thought of having to spend money or. the
Well, that
thought-
too, you know, and, you know,
So, it's all right.
so
Yep,
Is there any
we,
harm?
we need a better, and what I was gonna say was, you know, we need some visioning, because, you know,
Right.
people have to see what we would be enabling if we did it.
right.
You know, right now, it's
That's
like,
why
well, what do we
I think it's
get for it
a
if we do
lot.
this? You know,
Well, and if there's
It's not a
4 different
commitment
options,
to-
I mean, if people have, you know, the options, I mean, that's the thing that people don't have the information, so that, you know.
I mean,
maybe
you can
don't-
read this study,
hard
but
to-
you don't hear the conversations, but
Well, you know,
the study.
a cloud of a lot of options doesn't really coalesce into a real idea, and it's easy to just pick the worst things about
Right.
all of that stuff
Right.
and just say this isn't good.
Yeah.
But if people who want it were to come together and, you know, do the vision, I imagine in this room, you know, that blackboard right there could have drawings and, you know, index cards with things written on them. And then you come together with the idea that you like, and then everyone who doesn't like the idea should come in and make sure that they are adding their index cards to say, you know, I don't think this is gonna work. I don't like the price tag. I don't like, you know, I
Don't
don't
come
like this
down
and
my
that
way.
about it.
Yeah.
But once there's something to say you don't like, I think that's more constructive.
Yeah,
with
give
the
something to
criticism.
bounce off of, basically. And we got a start, because with one of the things I'm hoping will come out of the Design Connect process for
Right.
the former Dobson property, now the Shane Spencer property. You know, that for as long as I've been in Danby, that's been looked to as a prime developable part of a
Right.
potential hamlet, because it's got better soils and it doesn't have the creek and it doesn't have wetlands, and, you know, it's just a very developable area. And in my memory, I think Rick Dobley came in with at least two or three different proposals of things that he wanted to do, and he was absolutely sure it was going to happen, and none of them did. But we have a property owner now who is at least willing to entertain
Yeah.
possibilities for the
Right.
property, and we have thanks to Greg's proposal, we have a group of students who are willing to look at it and say, well, here's something you could do,
Yeah,
and which would help, to say, well, that could really be transformative, and it really could be transformative.
right.
54 acres is a lot of
But-
land.
And I really think that we need to, the thing that concerns me a lot about a lot of things now is this natural resources. And we do not really know what we have for development, for amount of water, et cetera, et cetera. And I know that this is sewering, but it does protect, part of the goal is to protect the natural resources.
Yeah,
And I was driving today and I saw something that alarmed me quite a bit. And that was, I've never seen as big a water tank in somebody's yard as I saw today. And I thought, does this mean somebody else is running out of water? That was my first reaction.
mhm.
And we have plenty of people doing new wells. And so in all our development, we have to think about that. And the other thing is if we have, if we're gonna drain big, if we have a sewering situation, we also have trenches that could also help us with water available for people. with
Yeah, I
proper-
thought about that too.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that probably can't put them both in the same trench.
Yeah, but I think,
Generally not.
I know residential, it's like at least a 4-foot separation.
Mhm.
But that's not bad. I mean,
It's not bad.
that's like,
No, but it's a separate trench, basically. You can't, as I said, well, it'd be really economical if you could run them both in the
oh,
same.
I didn't mean that, but
But no.
right, no.
No.
I mean, I'm looking at big picture, I'm big picture,
Yes,
yeah. But
So
anyway,
maybe some ideas will
No, in
come out
fact-
of this
correct.
thing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
well, in fact, when we did the site visit with the students to the property, and we
Right.
went up on top of Mount Dobson there.
Yeah.
Shane observed that's really solid, because it's excavated material. It's not soft, it's mostly shale, packed shale. It would be capable of supporting a water tower if we
Well, that
if we
would
were
look
to
really
put
nice.
one there.
Actually, it could be pretty cool, really. We could put, we could put the.
You have enough of a head that you could run water out of that.
Yeah,
And so it could at least serve a development there,
right.
and maybe even more broadly, but, something to think about, because water too is a consideration.
Right.
And we 40 years ago, we had no idea what the water availability was in Hamlet. We did have the aquifer study. I forget how long it's been now, but that aquifer study clarified what the resource is for Danby. And it's limited. We have a limited confined aquifer, and so we're never going to be Trumansburg because there's not enough water to do that. But we could be Newfield.
Could be what?
Newfield.
Oh,
Newfield, right.
They have,
Now,
Yeah.
now
They have water,
theoretically,
though,
Yeah.
They've got a nice,
West Danby could be,
yeah,
because we
Yeah.
got the water.
Right.
And if we had the sewer, there's the infrastructure to support much higher density, but the topography makes you like, well, where? So again, sort of a charrette would kind of want to say, well, what would be enabling if we did it? Is it anything we want?
right.
Yeah. So unfortunately, there's a lot of stuff that has to
Yeah.
come together, and we're under the gun, with the.
You keep saying that, but every
is it
time we
2
ask
months?
it.
Is it 1
Yeah.
month? Is it 4 months?
We don't know.
We don't know.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
What's it
I mean,
based
if the
on?
time runs out, it runs out. So,
Yeah.
you know, but maybe he'll have more information, more idea on after his meeting. There might be some more ideas and
What's it,
Maybe.
what's
resident
it based
input
on?
from the meeting.
Well, the grant the town was awarded, we haven't received the contract yet from the DEC. As a reference point, last year's similar grants took till about August for the contract to come out.
Okay.
We're hoping that it's just, as far into the future as possible so that we can have all of this information, we can have some community meetings and the like. So right now, as Joel said, and I think in a really succinct and clear way, I couldn't have said it any better, is that we're waiting for to receive more information from Guy about the sewer district creation. That absolutely would require a public hearing to even move forward with that. And then it's a little bit of a chicken and the egg because we're also looking into more funding to close that gap for that 25%. And so I think as Joel is mentioning, we need to know that we have the funding, or at least can be applying for funding, but also have the sewer district form in order to apply. And so people potentially in that affected area, if they don't know that we have the money, they might not want to be, to move forward with the district. So we're going to be talking with the Environmental Facilities Corporation pretty soon. I bet they'll be able to meet within the next week that Joel and I can sit in on and just get some of these questions answered about sewer district formation and then extra funds to work on, because that would be something that I'd work on this year to do that.
Yeah. Now, from the get-go, before we had, what started us down this pathway was a desire to find a solution to the compelling need, which is just some way of doing shared wastewater, so that we would enable small lots and compact development. Some way of doing that. And it expanded into this, you have to look at all the options. Well, all the options include the possibility of sewering the whole place. Hunt did that study for us, and they looked at the possibility of sewering the hamlet and the hamlet neighborhoods, hamlet neighborhood zone for both hamlets, and it's an astronomical amount of money. And then as I kept pressuring them to consider what if, what are the alternatives to this, and 2 pages in this report, 17 and 18, addressed the question of, well, what else could you do? And the what else is what I was interested in the first place, which is the possibility of a public-private partnership where a developer builds a development, installs a treatment system, deeds it to the town takes it over and runs it. But so there's the funding, there's this thing she's put in, and the participating properties are the one in the development, so that they would be assessed for the operating expense. And that would enable us to do what currently is very difficult to do unless you are part of you own the property and you own the system. And we may have to go to the state to have the authority to do that, because it's not in Article A, and it's not in Article 12, A or C, to do it that way. So that's another thing you guys kind of looking into, is that, well, could be good. And so I haven't talked to Anna or Leah Webb about this possibility, but to me, this would be beneficial, not just for Danby, for every other small town that wants to grow in some way other than sprawl.
Yeah, but I was on a call with the Department of State last week and some other planners in the county, and they said, we're going to be looking to you if you can actually advance that forward, because that would encourage more affordable housing, and for a town not to take out such a large expense for people in a district to be paying into that they don't want. I mean, the districts get shot down all the time, and so this would be a way that it's more of a choosing where the district is located. So even the Department of State said, we're going to look to you if this goes forward.
So we could play a leadership role, potentially. If Anna and Leah are receptive, the way to move this forward would be to have Guy draft legislation for them that picks up on what maybe creates an Article D a D in Article 12 that says, and you could do it this way. So what I was hoping that we could include the possibility of a municipally installed component, as opposed to having it all be privately funded, where, yes, we make a public investment in putting a sewer line from, Michigan Hollow down to Miller, and putting some infrastructure in, but basically have that be the public investment enabling development of properties along the way. And then if the treatment was modular, the developers could be paying for the treatment and not for the conveyance. But instead of having to do, instead of having to find a place to deal with the wastewater
Right.
for, you know, Olivia's property, say, you could connect to the sewer and the treatment could be down yonder. Which would be a lot more, potential there for. But, we probably need state enabling legislation,
Probably need what?
state enabling legislation to do it that way. And then we could include in the district the ones that hook up.
Okay, so what are we doing tonight?
Nothing, we just hang up there.
Just the information.
Yeah, I thought you might like to know where we are.
Oh, yeah.
So there's that, there are other things. Yeah, there are other things that we are supposedly moving forward on, like, for instance, the noise, maybe you could give us an update, where we stand with.
I did check with, what's his name?
Warren.
Yeah,
Warren.
Warren. I did talk to him and he had been, very concerned. His immediate reaction to the stuff that came back from Guy was phenomenally negative. Looking at it afterwards, he was not so negative. So now he's interested in just getting more feedback from residents, individual feedback, not public hearings. So I had said, I will start trying to talk to people about options,
Okay.
about what exists, what that proposal was that came
Mhm.
and reactions to it.
Right, because we went to Guy with, here's what we want, and he came back with something more.
And I said, Warren was upset at the beginning,
Yeah.
looking at it again, with more time.
Yeah.
He is less concerned. He is not concerned. He thinks we should go with that and not change it.
We just-
But getting more information individually from other people around town first.
Mhm.
I will do that eventually.
Yeah, can it be done using the newsletter? Is it?
Direct conversations is much more effective. That was a very long thing to include in the newsletter. And if you
Yeah.
want feedback in the whole thing, not
Right.
words somebody says.
But I mean, in order to basically approach them about it, you have to have, you know, on the webpage or whatever, you know,
Or I
something you
can
can
give them
point them to it.
copies.
Yeah, right.
Who are we talking about?
I'm looking at different people who had responded in the past, so we can get feedback directly from them individually.
So, either we do all of the ones who showed interest or none of them. I mean, how do we pick I think that if we have all the people who provided feedback either way, probably they need to be contacted because it's been a long time.
Well, this is to get some additional information over time. Then this does not substitute for a public hearing that would.
I'm
still
not
be
talking
no,
about
right,
public
right.
hearing.
Yes, no.
I'm not talking about that. I'm just concerned back to the same old thing again. We can only, it's who gets to pick, who gets to say
Yeah.
that, so that, like the idea of having the meeting about sewering, we have meeting, I mean, our last big meeting, noise meeting was horrible. And our committee was pretty horrible. But by now, we're getting close to that one, and the special event permit is sort of, they have a relationship.
Yeah,
Speaking,
especially those people that have invested time and
Right,
sweat
right,
into getting feedback already, or meeting.
right. I mean, the last time I saw one of the people, I just happened to see the person by the side of the road and that say, hi, how are you? And the next thing you know, what about that
Yeah.
noise thing? And it was a, see, well, we had to halt for a while.
but it was not intended to be a permanently shelving kind of thing, but.
Right, I agree, it would be, and we're getting into the season where people have their, more, they can hear more things
Right.
outside.
And you just raised another question. Where are we with the special event?
Well, that got kicked into the regulatory review committee's purview,
Yeah.
All right,
because a lot of it,
good point.
some of it, comes down to, we were focusing on about like agricultural uses. And where do those fit within exemptions, or do those need to get sort of regulated in some way? And so Guy's advice was just, we need to reach out to ag markets about that, and probably just in general about whether there can be some certain site plan review that's allowed for agricultural developments, specifically those that have music and events and things like that nature.
And we already have some guidance in ag and markets, as I recall, that some regulation is reasonable.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's completely verboten, it's that you can have reasonable regulations, just like they're not aimed at terminating or unreasonably constraining the agricultural activity itself. So is the regulatory review committee dealing with it?
It'll probably be the subcommittee, like the catch-all subcommittee.
Yes,
and
yes.
Whether I think we're gonna move on to that
Yeah.
after our accessory.
But there
We're
was
moving into the red territory.
Yes,
We're
yes,
in the
yes.
green category of the easy ones, and
Yeah.
moving into the more harder, difficult things to kind of parse out.
There was a hope that we would have something in place before, we got into the warm period where we're apt to have, the possibility of a special event wanting to happen, as it were, even though we don't have any, as far as we know.
It's, so the intention for where the group landed on was that there would be a batch of amendments going to the town board in the middle of the year, sometime between May and July.
Yeah.
It would be, we're in March right now. It might be a bit of a stretch to say we can, but this potential amendment about site plan review for certain agricultural developments and the special event law would, so those things would tie in with each other. They might be in that first batch. That's just a few months away. That would time it out, but I don't think we can make any promises. Just we want to get with things that are a little bit easier to take on and move forward. And I think we're getting into some of the more harder things to discuss.
And then,
But that could be a goal. I should say.
And another related thing is the, camping versus short-term rentals. They're connected too.
Yeah, but I don't know if we need to like start sort of spinning off into different topics, because
No.
Well, just as an update, as to where do we stand with?
Yeah.
We created a committee specifically to deal with short-term rentals.
Yeah.
And where are we with that?
we haven't moved forward on that.
Right.
So that's is that something we should ask the regulatory review committee to take up?
Personally, I think it can wait, especially, I mean, short-term rentals, that's my personal recommendation, don't take it.
It's not like it's pressing.
Right. It's been going on a long time. We don't even know who is all doing it. It's not, we haven't gotten like tons of complaints either way.
No, and
And
unlike
we
other
do have
things,
this other stuff which we
Yeah.
really would like to get done.
yeah, unlike other things where it's not like it's not a prohibited use.
Right.
It's something that, right now, we're treating short-term rentals like any other rent. You can rent it, whether you rent it for a day or rent it for a year, same difference in Danby.
Right.
And if it works for people, then, maybe it's okay. But we were gonna take a look at it.
Well, yeah, let's stay with the noise, and then if the short-term rental people are really noisy, then we can go after them.
Just in my year and a half of being here, I've received one call, somebody complaining about a short-term rental next door to them. And then I ended up following up with them a few weeks later or about a month later, and they said it had all been sort of solved. They just worked it out with
Yeah, that's the best.
It was a new owner, and they were rented there. They work at Cornell, and they kind of live
Yeah.
elsewhere too, and they were just renting it out for a couple weeks here and there. And I guess they had some bad tenants, and
Yeah.
but that
It's always a
so
gamble.
yeah.
mean, if
And
that
you
could
have
happen,
to have
whether,
tenants for long-term rentals.
I was gonna say, you have that problem with whether they're short-term or not.
We haven't heard anything about like large corporations buying up all the houses in Danby to turn them into Airbnbs, have we?
No,
Is
we
that
have
something
not.
people are talking about, being worried about, like Berkshire Hathaway bought all the
We
houses in
haven't,
my
we haven't
neighborhood?
even
They're all
brought that
Airbnbs yet?
subject up.
Cause I
But
mean,
yeah, so good.
that's the
It
first
is
thing I
something to
think
think
of when I
about.
think of
Right.
the problems with, you know, short-term rental. Like if a person is doing an Airbnb with like their little cabin out back, I don't think that has the same effect on the housing market as,
No,
you know,
people have
some giant
loans
hedge
in their
fund buying
house.
40 houses in your neighborhood and turning them all into
Right.
hotels.
And
Yeah.
frankly, it does allow some people to pay their taxes,
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
so I mean, there's a question of whether or not, I suppose that question might arise, you know, now that the city of Ithaca has regulated
I know, yeah.
and made it impossible for the Berkshire Hathaways of the world to you know, buy up houses in Ithaca. I suppose, you know, that you say if they were looking to buy up houses, they might look elsewhere, and that it could become a problem for someplace like Danby. But as of yet, there's no indication that that's happening, right?
That does seem like part of the grand scheme of selling off everything in the country for parts. So I wouldn't say
So to
that we
speak,
shouldn't be
it's-
ready for it.
But it's not a front burner item.
No, I would say not. Sorry.
Well, that's good to hear.
You may wonder whatever happened to the logging law.
I think that's almost done. isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's,
Well, it's in this, it's been in the end stages now for several months.
Jesus.
The scope has narrowed
Good.
over time. And it's at the point where I'd say the group is trying to decide whether to put something forward that's totally geared towards just knowing what's going on and giving the highway department some guidance and some tools to make sure that our roads don't get messed up. Which I kind of think is where we're going with it. But it hasn't happened, you know, it's coming. What else is?
So-
What else is
How
out
much
there where we're
trouble-
thinking about, you know, things that are supposed to be moving forward in the shadows, but come back to the board?
how much trouble would it be for you to do something like you did with the short-term rental, but one that just went out that was ask people how, anybody who's willing to reply, how their water supply is and how their septic systems are surviving?
Just putting out a survey and having it be available for a number of months, just
Yeah.
Do it
kind
on
of
the website?
continuously, just,
Right.
yeah.
I'd really
Very
like
straightforward.
that, after
Maybe-
seeing that, and all the numbers of wells being re-drilled and the septic, the new fields here and there, I mean, these are the things that would be nice to,
It'd be nice to know,
yes,
yeah.
especially when we want to try and focus on it for affordable housing or areas of housing, et cetera, et cetera.
Sometimes there's been money for septics and stuff.
Yes, yeah. And I think, as I recall, as part of the questionnaire that was done in the sewer study, was asking people whether they had trouble with their systems.
Right.
And, you know, they try to make a case for why we got a problem that needs to be fixed. Pointing to there were several systems that were in violation, had orders of violation. I'm familiar with most of them, it's like, yeah, but they were not widespread.
Well, our geology in this whole area is a problem for.
Yes, if you look at soil suitability, you know, Danby's crummy for sewers, for septic. West Danby, parts of West Danby aren't that great either. You know, clay,
Right,
the clay soils require these expensive sand filters or beds that are way more expensive than traditional sewage systems. And it's mostly due to the groundwater level being rather close to the surface, which is, again, due to the fact that we got a hard pan under it. So the soils are fairly thin, they don't drain. Poor.
information, please, almanac.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we started that we haven't
Yeah,
finished?
let's see what.
That's what comes to mind.
Oh, crosswalks. What's going on?
Oh,
with
yeah,
that?
that's right.
We haven't, so I'm getting a little frustrated because we've reached out to our usual engineer, but he hasn't responded. So I'm wondering if we should just put out just a wider
Let's do that.
RFP and,
Let's, yeah.
But he actually looked at it, right? But he didn't do the work or,
They didn't
he
give us
hasn't provided a proposal yet
oh,
Right,
with,
nothing.
with
Oh.
the fee for
Maybe he thinks
services.
there's no competition. Let's give him some, let's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Send it
I'm
out.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, I could do that.
you could do an RFP and see if anybody responds. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
We could
and
do it
what we've
ourselves,
asked from
right?
him, we
Yeah,
might
right.
not need as
Yes.
much as that, yeah.
Wait, what?
This developer.
Wait, what?
Wait, what am I doing?
Oh, no, crosswalk.
I mean, I already, I
Yeah.
talked with Catherine to the architect that came out.
Yeah.
But the thing that's gonna be the more CrossFit,
It's the
sorry,
prohibitive.
thank you.
Crosswalk prohibited.
Crosswalk prohibitive is not, actually putting in the crosswalk is gonna be pretty inexpensive.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Right.
It's the pads and.
No, it's
no, it's-
getting the stamp plan for it.
Oh.
I
Yes,
mean, it's going to be
that's the problem.
considerably more. I would volunteer my time if materials were covered. But the cost of that, what did they say it was gonna be?
Well, we,
Like-
what happened is he set a number and we all thought, oh, that's not too bad. And then it came up that the cost was way over, not way under.
Yeah,
And that was just for the plan.
just for
So
Oh,
two
it's finding a
paths.
different
The
architect.
crosswalk.
Maybe I'll just start drafting an RFP and just have that, and maybe we can issue in the next few weeks if we don't hear from Dave.
It seems like such a straightforward situation that you're doing an RFP for somebody to say, here's what the pads need to look like on either end of the sidewalk. It's like mind boggling.
The issue too is it turns into like, I'm curious.
Maybe I should call Diane Kaiser back
Yeah,
and say, help, we're not getting anywhere, this is getting the architect part is the problem.
I think it's on the towns at this point. I think Valerie's given us all the information we
I mean,
need.
Valerie,
It's
thank you.
just,
Yeah.
we just need to find somebody who's registered as a designer. Then just put plans together that follow their
Yeah.
specifications. So,
Could it be an architect? Doesn't have to be. an
yeah,
engineer.
it can be an architect,
or
a landscape
engineer.
architect too,
Yeah.
Right,
or an engineer.
right.
All right, so I'll start drafting an RFP. I was coming to this meeting today, a little like rumbling under my breath about it. 'Cause
Hope they
it's
don't.
frustrating.
Hope they don't
I-
ask me this.
So I thought Dave was gonna respond to us about a week later or something. with the
Yeah,
proposal,
right.
but It's been 2 months.
Yeah, and it was scary. It sounded really scary, but we're thinking, wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
a for what could be a landscape architect doing something that.
I mean, they're guidelines. That's the thing is it's like.
Basically giving you the specs. Just to
The
say, how do we
specs,
plug this into this site?
It's the same thing. I mean, the thing to keep in mind is also whoever does it has to be insured to work in the public way since it is on the highway.
Right,
You wouldn't have to have that insurance if it was on town road.
Right.
Mhm.
right. Right.
Oh,
You should put the crosswalk somewhere else, right?
yeah, right. Put on a side, but we need it, right?
We'll just make it from the town hall to the solar array.
Yeah,
not-
There we go. Do that ourselves.
Who knew?
Hmm?
Who knew it was gonna be such a,
Especially because we have complete permission from the state.
yeah,
Complete.
sure, go ahead, just,
Yes,
it's gonna cost you $20,000 to do the approaches, but go ahead.
We never heard about moving the, speed limit sign on 96B.
right.
Oh, now, I got a note from, Jack Shawley saying that the highway they haven't had the orders yet for the speed limit that was reductions that were approved. The letter we got from them saying, yes, you're approved, orders will follow shortly. Well, not yet.
Right.
Mm. Maybe we should,
Maybe somebody should
yeah.
give them a little nudge.
Well, we look forward to hearing from you. You said you were going to.
Yeah.
Um,
We could give them a call
Okay,
at Highway.
maybe Jack could call, yeah.
and that raises the question of whether we want to, we left off it, okay, we got this approved, what about another batch?
Well, let's get this, I mean, we can start
Those
working
are
on
the
We could start working on the next batch, but.
Yeah,
Getting the speed limit signed at both ends of the town would be a really good idea. Getting it before the curve down there and on the other side of Miller up there.
Okay, well, we could
Because-
add
Add that.
that one to the next batch, because this one,
It's already
was
on
already
there.
on
That was already requested.
but it didn't,
And
but
they
they
just left
didn't
it off.
speak to it though, did they?
Right.
what
No,
didn't-
but they didn't deny it, so that means it's still,
Right.
No, no,
needs
it's
to
still
be-
so we
open.
need to follow up.
Remind them that we asked them.
That's correct.
Yeah, all right, so the new list. We can start.
I'm going to stabilize the old highway barn
Oh,
this week. I just got back a couple hours ago. But if you would be interested on putting more discussion of potentially turn that into a skate park, because it'd be really nice to potentially go after the grants and start.
For the next.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
do we have a identified potential source of funding? Cause I mean, they did the skate park in Enfield, right? You probably know.
It's all
Where'd they get the money?
It was from the county.
Was from the county?
And Home Depot actually donated material, tools, and I believe 2 store employees for a day to come out and finish concrete the last day.
Somebody should tell those.
Yeah.
Just have them compute.
So I took a look at the building and it's not, in my opinion, in danger of collapse.
No.
It could use some
Well, I think it's a good idea. If you
Repairs,
have
but-
permission to stabilize it, let's.
yeah.
let 'em-
Where is the building?
It's on Ball Hill Road.
Ball Hill.
Yeah, it's on the old, the highway barn used to be in Ball Hill Road.
That's
Before
not
it moved to
helpful for
Hornbrook.
us who haven't been. So when people say that,
If you
people
want
who
me to
moved here
update
late,
it,
it's close by.
Yeah,
Island.
sounds great.
I
That
mean,
sounds like.
Yeah, it's right by,
It's
the creek
close.
on this side of the
Cool.
creek.
It's really, it's accessible.
So yeah, how far is it from the bus stop by skateboard?
Not far. I mean,
It's not
if,
very-
so pretty much where Carthag's Market is, it is just, yeah.
It's short.
Within skateboard range.
Yes.
Which would be perfect for the crosswalk.
Yes,
And the kids are excited because I'm getting them out there.
yeah. And I think, well, the other thing is, it's, the only thing that we might get pushback on is it's right practically on the property line, it's right by the creek.
Yeah.
If you're the house next door, you know, the skateboard might not be the quietest thing to have next to you, but.
I think that we can absolutely work with noise levels,
Mm.
because like the design that I was putting ahead just for the barn, like getting outside of it, totally different, would be lovely to do.
Mm.
Possible bank. Thankfully, I know people that are good with managing sound, but being inside of the barn and actually sinking it down on the ground would cut sound
yeah.
levels down. to,
Yeah,
like,
right.
You might hear people having like joyous noise.
Yeah, you could line it with cork.
If you hate like people laughing, I get that.
5 minutes to 8. 5 minutes to 8.
Yeah.
So are we, I mean,
We're-
it sounds like
we're right
we've got,
Here.
we can move forward with excitement. and-
Right, we do have
Really
one
great.
more
Just put
item.
that on
We
the
have one
next, on
more
the
item.
next one.
Right.
Or does
Yeah,
it?
we should get to the next item.
To do the.
The,
Declare lead agency.
right, we almost brought this forward at last meeting or meeting before. FEMA wanted us to run our local law by them to make sure that, you know, they were okay with it before we brought it forward. So we sent it to them and they took a look at it and they were okay with it, so now we can move forward. But as part of its consideration, we need to do seeker. So the proposal at this point is just to declare ourselves lead agency and seek a review of this flood damage prevention local law, which we'll then entertain once we do the seeker part of it.
I move we declare ourselves lead agency for all that stuff.
I'll second that.
I didn't hear anything, so.
We're declaring ourselves lead agency in
Oh,
state
okay.
environmental
Yeah.
quality review.
Charge
But what's on
all
the
these things
agenda?
on this list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of the flood damage prevention local law. And Greg, did you? The next step will be to then do the environmental review. Probably want to do that before we schedule the public hearing. on
Yeah,
that.
I would say, for right now, just declare lead agency. I think that's the only real, tangible action that you could do tonight or not, but we have until June to adopt this law. Also, one thing is that the actual final maps haven't been submitted to the town yet, so it might also just,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think declaring the agency is totally appropriate because
Okay.
it's within the town board's purview to be the lead agency. And then I could look into the secret, but once we actually have the maps, that would really help us. But I have
Hmm?
all the data online, but the official hard copy maps have yet to be delivered. So,
So, and this is different than the 1991.
correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's,
this
it's
is-
because it's different and it's because it's different that we have to go through this process.
okay,
Yeah.
right.
So it just needs to be adopted by June 8th, or I should say all these new maps go into effect on June 18th of this year. And it does impact more properties
Right.
than the last map.
Although in
Are
terms of
there any
impacting
major
existing
changes
properties,
Besides a few, I mean, I know that there are a few,
You know, I haven't done a comparison
what do you call
definitions.
that? Definitions, it's got a dictionary.
I haven't done it actually.
There's some definitions that are different. But I didn't
Yes,
get
look at
farther
it.
than that.
Mhm.
One, so I guess if you want to clearly.
I read it. So let's see,
Okay.
there's
Let's
a
do it.
motion, right?
Yeah, I made the motion.
Pat made a motion. Seconded. I didn't already. Do you have a second already, Marlon?
No, I was gonna ask.
Okay, I'll second it.
Very good.
Further discussion?
I have a quick question. Are you declaring the town board as the lead agency?
Yep.
Yes.
Thank you. Ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Connors,
Yep.
Hunter,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Stein,
Yeah.
We'll get that reviewed.
Gagnon?
Yes.
Excellent.
Items for next time. Items for next time.
Oh, I thought we just.
Yeah, yes. Oh, the town hall meeting room policy,
Oh, yes.
the energy audit,
What about it?
Update. Jim said he was gonna come back with an update. And may.
Yeah, in terms of choices.
choices,
to be
yeah,
made
Choices
for-
to be
yeah,
made,
15,000.
maybe.
Maybe,
Perhaps.
yeah. More or less, depending on how the other quotes come out.
Right.
I mean, we're running out of time. We don't have to talk. I don't want to open up a can of worms 2 minutes from the end.
well, for next meeting
We're
or?
talking about, potential.
Just wondering what the benefit of more solar over there would be.
That's what, yeah, that's what Jim is coming back.
Like
with.
why we would choose that. Oh, yeah, we'll have to wait.
That's
till we
why
get-
Well, yeah, that's the thing, is, we have, there are a limited number of things to
Um,
choose to use the money for.
But we're
That's
not,
one of them.
and we're not talking about that
Jim-
now. That's
Jim's
for
not
next
there.
meeting.
Yeah.
It's on the
Who's
agenda.
B?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what he says about why we'd want more solar panels, because I was thinking of
Not
other
very-
things.
not
sound
who's
better.
B?
But that's-
Well, just one of the options.
Spend the money.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah.
Nothing else.
That's what I was
They
saying.
don't need to identify.
But,
Can you please limit yourself to one conversation at a time?
Yeah, well, we're sort of devolving here because we're looking at things to add to the agenda. I think we've done that.
Yeah, we're
And
done.
consequently, we are at the end of the agenda and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Cool.